Let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, March 2nd, 2026. Okay, so we start this episode at the country club. Bill and Haley are there and they are celebrating their 1 year anniversary. And Danny comes in all jokes and antics as per the usual. And she starts digging in her purse and they get a little, scared because last time Danny wore that purse and was digging in that specific purse, Danny was pulling out a pew pew at their wedding. So they're like looking at the purse like, what's she about to do? But she pulls out tissue because, like I said, they're celebrating their anniversary, and since it's their 1 year anniversary, the gift for the 1 year anniversary is paper. So she's giving them tissue and she's just making jokes and Andre tries to like whisk her away, but she's like, no, let me get my jokes off. And Andre looks a little bit annoyed with it all, and I can't say that I necessarily blame him. So when they go to their table, Chelsea ends up coming to the country club, and the bartender asks Chelsea if she's going to be joining her parents, and she looks back and she sees Danny and Andre, and she does go to the table and she talks to Danny and Andre, and she starts telling them about the fight that she had with Kat. And what I like about this conversation is that Danny is such a good listener and she's open minded because she and both her and Andre both, they're able to, think about it from both, sides of the coin. They're hearing, you know, Chelsea out and her frustrations, but then they're seeing things from Kat's point of view as well. And it's kind of helpful for Chelsea to kind of get where Kat may be coming from. So that was good, and she ends up. I think she felt better by the time she leaves. Meanwhile, down at Uptown, Kat goes back to Uptown, and Naomi is there, and so she sits and she, eats with Naomi. And they basically talk about the situation as well, and Naomi kind of gives her some insight, and then Kat kind of invites herself when she finds out that Jacob is gone and Naomi's home alone, kind of invites herself to move in with Naomi, and Naomi's like, whoa sis, slow your roll, I don't think that's a good idea. And Jacob coming back, and when he come back, then you just gonna have to up and move again. So, you know, Naomi was really good in this scene because sometimes I can feel like Naomi is disjointed from her family, but she was really good in listening to Kat and giving Kat's perspective and said, I know what you may be feeling, but you need to figure out how to work through it. And I know that you and Chelsea will be okay, which they will be. They're best friends and they're cousins. They are going to be okay. And I just like that Kat had somebody to lean on and wasn't, because I feel like everyone comes down so hard on Kat and they don't realize like she's just really an emotional being and she feels things very hard, and I don't think people realize that. And so they're like, oh, just get over it, XYZ happened, just get over it. But these are big things and big changes, and some people don't do change well, and they need a little bit of hand holding, they need a little bit of help to make it through. And I just felt like today, Naomi passed as a cousin. Meanwhile, the nurses are at the nurses station, and Ashley is doing her oncology rotation. And they're talking, and while they're talking, Ted comes up and he's saying stuff to Shanice, and Shanice is like very excited. However, she's not excited because of the things that Ted is saying. She's excited because her aunt Monica, the oncologist that we saw Naomi talking with last week, is there. So she introduces them to introduces her aunt to Ted and Ashley, and then she takes Ted to coffee. And while they're at coffee, she's giving Ted the business, asking him, you just got a divorce. Your ink isn't even dry on your divorce yet. And, Ted, pretty much holds his own and tells, you know, the aunt what she wants to hear. And then he goes back to see Shanice. And Shanice is worried that her aunt may have been too tough on him. And he was like, no, it was all good. If this was a med school test, I would have got an A and all this stuff. I'm glad he held his own, because for me, it's like, Ted, you're too grown to not be able to hold your own, and you're also too grown to, like, let the aunt questioning you bother you. So I was glad that he didn't, and that he did, make it out with some dignity, even though I hate Ted. Then we have the Grants. So because Ashley is doing the oncology rotation, she is actually Anita's nurse today for chemo. And so Ashley comes in, and, she's talking with Anita, and Anita tells her that she feels comfortable with, someone that she knows doing the treatment. And she's talking about, the treatment, and how she's so glad that her granddaughters don't have to deal with this. And Ashley is feeling a kind of way because she knows that, in fact, Naomi does have the BRCA gene, and, you know, there's nothing she can do, because she can't say anything to Anita about her having it. It would break her confidence with her friends. It would break HIPAA. And, she also told Shanice that she wanted to call Naomi so she can give her grandmother a little extra love, but she knows she can't do that either because HIPAA. So, you know, Ashley is trying oncology, and I'm sure that she is grateful to be able to help Anita in some kind of way, but it is a little bit trying and testing for her because she knows things that Anita and the rest of the family do not. And then we have Joey and Randy. They're at the casino, and Randy is getting kind of scolded by Joey because Joey's like, you haven't been at work at this casino in a while. And he was like, well, all my work is caught up, blah, blah, blah. And then in comes Bill and Haley. Haley, Bill took Haley there for their anniversary so that they can play blackjack. And um, Joey calls Randy to come be their dealer. Joey is watching them squirm, and I love it because he knows something is up there. He doesn't know what it is, but he knows that he pretends to be Sammy in front of Haley and Bill, and he doesn't know quite what it is, but he don't trust Haley and he doesn't trust Randy. And I like that he put them in the room and let them squirm a little bit. I actually like that a lot. Um, but yeah, it was pretty light today. Um, Let me know what you thought of today's episode in the comments. And we will be back tomorrow to discuss tomorrow's episode. Um, and yeah. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, March 3rd, 2026. So we start this episode with Ted in his office and he's getting ready to go, but he gets a phone call from Dana and she is asking him if he's had a chance to talk to Isaiah yet. And he basically tells her evasively that he has something on the books, although he's getting ready to go meet Isaiah right now. And he basically doesn't think that she needs to have anything to do with him and his conversation with Isaiah. And so he's like, he has something on the books, and she's saying, this isn't, just scheduling a patient, blah, blah, blah. And he basically says something slick back to her and hangs up the phone because Leslie, get out my ear. Like, I don't need to hear any of this. None of this comes before you. Like, this has nothing to do with you. What I say to Isaiah is between me and Isaiah, basically. And, he hangs up the phone. And then he goes down to the country club. Well, he's getting ready to leave, and Carlton comes in and he tells Carlton that he doesn't have time to speak right now because he's about to head to the country club to play basketball. And Carlton was like, oh, well, I'll send you like an email or something to, let you know what I'm like, because he's going out of town. He's going out of town a lot. Like, I didn't want to suspect Carlton, but he always gone. It's kind of odd. But anyway, he's like, why don't you come shoot some hoops with me? And ride with me to go to the country club to shoot some hoops. So they start trash talking, and they're on their way out, and they run into Kyle, and then they kind of start taking shots, and then they invite him to come. So they all go to meet Andre and Isaiah to play basketball, and Kyle, um, Ted, and Carlton are all old and hurt after the game. And um, then Ted takes Isaiah to the bar and they're talking, and he's doing his father thing and whatever. Meanwhile, when they leave the locker room, Isaiah and Ted leave the locker room. Andre stays behind to talk to um, Carlton, and he basically tells Carlton that Nicole isn't going to respond to this male macho thing that they got going on because they're like trying to flex in order to like prove like which one is better for Nicole. And he's like, Nicole is not going. Aunt Nicole isn't going to, respond to any of that. You keep doing that, and the only thing that's going to happen is she's going to move on from the two of you. Which I'm like, why does it take Andre, who's younger than all of them, for them to figure all of that out? Like, are y'all that stupid and dense? But obviously so. So then we have Eva, she's at Wolfie Jeans, and Tomas comes in and she starts talking to him, and she's like, I don't know because my stepdad didn't care about who I was dating, so I don't even know what to expect. How did Ted talk to you? And he's telling Eva about the encounters that he's had with Ted. Like, all the men in the family approached him at the fashion show, and then he had a conversation that was very awkward with Ted after he slept with Eva. And she was like, oh my God, my dad, you know, came down hard on me for that too. And I'm like, she acts like she doesn't know that she was wrong. And so then Tomas says that Ted, was like, if he hurt either one of his daughters again. And she's like, oh, he was worried about me. I'm not worried about you, Eva. But anyway, and she's all happy that Ted was thinking about her too. But I guess, child. Anyway, So she's talking to Tomas, and then finally Leslie makes her way down to Orpheus and she sees her and she's rude and she dismisses Tomas, which he said he had to get back to work. And I don't care about Tomas anyway, so dismiss him. But she's up there talking about how she's trying to push things in the right direction so that Eva can have a fall wedding or whatever the case may be. And it's just very weird. As I would say that is like she wants Eva to get married and have all the things that she didn't have because she never got married, but she was married. Someone did marry her. I don't know why, but they did. And I don't know what is Leslie trying to overcompensate for, but she is majorly. Um, Meanwhile, Nicole and Vanessa were down at Uptown and they're having drinks. And while they're having drinks, before Leslie goes to Orphe Jean's, she actually comes into Uptown and she is trying to talk to Vanessa. But, you know, things are prickly between her and Nicole. Granted, I don't really care about that because Nicole gets to have feelings about Leslie and go at it with Leslie because we saw that today. Like she was getting her little digs in with Leslie. However, when it comes to Kat, it's always you need to let this go. Well, you let it go first. I don't even. And Kat is only trying to be protective of her mother and of Laura, but then they look at her like she's crazy. But then Nicole goes out and exhibits the same behavior with Leslie. It's so crazy to me that then she's gonna look sideways at Kat for. Like I don't get it. But anyway, um Leslie is trying to, you know, get Vanessa to put her front face in front of the media or whatever. And Nicole's like, oh, so this is like performative philanthropy. And that's exactly what it is. Everything that Leslie does is not actually for a good cause. It's not for the good of anyone but herself in some way. And it's definitely performative. Everything about it. Like she wakes up and puts on a mask or a wig and performs because that's what she does. It's nothing real or genuine where Leslie is concerned. But anyway, then we have Bill and Haley. They're at work, and Bill is talking to her, and he's like, "Well, he's really basically trying to go ahead and revisit the discussion on them, expanding their family." And she is giving the runaround as Haley does. And I just wonder why it is that Bill never sees it. Like it got him back on because he don't see that she gives him the runaround about everything all the time. But anyway, so she's like, she'll get checked out, he'll get checked out, and then they'll decide to move forward or whatever. And in the meantime, Tomas comes back and he goes into the office and he's like, "Oh, I need to talk to you about something." And Haley was like, and Bill asked Haley to leave, but Haley was like, "Oh, if it has something to do with Lynette's case, I want to stay." And then, he's like, "I did a little bit deeper look and I don't find any footprints for Lynette." And Haley is all up in arms and is like, that's fine. And Bill is like, it's normal. Let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, March 4th, 2026. So we start this episode with Madison. She's at the hospital and she's talking to the chief. Side note, are y'all suspicious of the chief now after today? But anyway, she's talking with the chief about her research that she's going to be doing on Parkinson's. And we can tell that Shanice trained Ashley because Ashley is eavesdropping on the conversation. And we know that Grayson told Ashley that his mother has Parkinson's. So she is excited about Madison's um, research because she kind of wants to, suggest it to Grayson to see if it can help his mother out. So, um, she intervenes in the conversation and, they talk about it. And then she tells Madison that it's Grayson. Ashley be doing way too much because I don't know that if I confided, I would never, first of all, never confide in a coworker. But if I confided in a coworker, I wouldn't want them to go telling my business to another coworker because that's essentially what Ashley did. He confided in her, even though he's lying. Um, he confided in her about his mom having Parkinson's, and then she goes and tells Madison, and then the chief, who is always lurking, she overheard the situation, and she also sees Grayson and Ashley kissing because she tells him about, the study. And, he's like, oh, I want you in my life, blah, blah, blah. And again, the chief is lurking and she sees them kissing at the nurse's station. Ashley goes to go do her work and she speaks to Grayson. And this is the sus part. And he was like, I won't let it get in. They seem like they were like a lot more acquainted than the chief, because I don't think like a lab tech would know the chief of the hospital, the chief of staff, that well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know, like on General Hospital, I know that when Portia was co-chief, she was like, she knows everything that goes on in her hospital. I have no doubt that she knows everything and has her hand in everything that goes on in Garland Memorial, but to know a lab tech, that's a bit of a stretch. So when then we have Chelsea, she's at Vernon's house, and they're talking about Anita, and he's explaining to her that, yeah, Anita may seem more tired than she normally does because this is the new chemo. And Chelsea's like, well, is it, if it's making her this sick, is it even worth it? And Vernon is very emotional, and he basically says that he could never sit by and watch Anita die. So if he gotta, watch her be sick in order for a chance to get her on the other side of this is what he's going to do. And then the conversation turns to her and Kat, and she's like hesitant to talk to her grandfather about it because, he's dealing with so much, but he's like, helping my granddaughter is what, keeps me going, basically. So she tells him about her and Kat, and he encourages her to just let Kat know that you're there. And so she's leaving, and on her way out, um, Carlton arrives at the house. Chelsea's like, I know you know where my aunt live. Why are you here? And then she leaves and she goes to meet Madison at Uptown, and then they're looking at Haley because Haley is there being sus. And then Randy comes in and they're having like a very heated conversation, and both her and Madison are like, what is going on here? And then Madison's like, I know that guy from somewhere, I can't remember from where, but I know him. But yeah, um then back at the house, um, Carlton came bearing gifts, some ginger candy and some liquor for Vernon. And he says he came there to ask for permission to date Nicole. And I was like, wait a minute. Is this a joke? Because Nicole is like 100 years old. Why is he asking for permission from her daddy? And then also, like Nicole told you, she not looking for nothing serious. Matter of fact, Nicole doing what Nicole do best right now. Like, anyway, but it was a joke. And then he offers his services for when the chemo is ready. If Anita needs breast reconstruction, he can, at he can refer a doctor, and then he wants to be a part of her care team or whatever. And then Vernon is talking to him about his feelings for Nicole. I think that it is odd and it's weird and it is borderline crazy that he's just this invested in his best friend's wife or ex-wife, because had the situation with Leslie not happened, they would still be married. But now you're trying to press her and corner her into a relationship with you, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But then we have Nicole and Vanessa. They're at Uptown when Dr. Rollins calls Vanessa, and then he asks to meet them at the club. They all go down to the club because Vanessa is trying to get him somewhere to live. And again, Nicole is making her intentions known. She's like, okay, are you moving to the county because you want to, or are you doing that for me? Because if you're doing it for me, that ain't what I want. And he was like, no, it's for me. Slow your roll, blah, blah, blah. They end up leaving the country club because he wants to borrow some sugar. They end up leaving the country club and going back to Nicole's house and doing what Nicole does best at the present time, in between the sheets. And then Carlton calls, and she has a missed call and a voicemail from Carlton while she was getting in the streets. So, like, sir, she is living the life that she told you she wants to live, and you're calling her, sweating her, like. And then he basically told Vernon that he'll wait, but I don't know that Nicole will be ready anytime soon. And I definitely don't think when she is ready, it's going to be you. I'm sorry. But anyway, then we have Bill and Haley. They're arguing about having a baby, and she is being Haley and still campaigning for her Academy Award. And then she flips the script and starts talking to Bill about making the call to get Lynette's charges dropped, which ultimately he does make the call to do. I don't know what happened of it, but he did make the call. And then um when Grayson comes to do Bill's lab work, because we remember he is getting labs done to his numbers are back to normal. So Grayson comes to get his blood, and she leaves and she goes to Uptown, and she's at Uptown waiting for Randy. What she does not know is that Chelsea and Madison are in Uptown. They see her, she hasn't spotted them. And so when Randy gets there, like I said, they're having a heated discussion. And while they're having that heated discussion, they don't notice that Madison and Chelsea are watching that heated discussion, and they're curious. But yeah, that was today's. These episodes for Beyond the Gates this week, it's been a little slow. I actually expected to be a little bit more climatic than this, but I mean, they're not bad. I didn't have to fast forward through any Leslie or Eva or anything. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, March 5th, 2026. Okay, so this episode we pick up where we left off yesterday with Madison and Chelsea at Uptown, and they're watching an interaction with Haley and who we know to be Randy. And Madison is like, this ain't got nothing to do with us. Let's talk wedding. And Chelsea is intrigued, like, what is going on, and why would Haley be having such an intense conversation with this man. So she's watching Haley, and M- Madison is talking, but she's not listening because she's focused on Haley. And she decides to go over, and she goes over to ask if it's all right. And, Haley, let me say, Haley is in the wrong profession. She is currently a paralegal at her husband's law firm, and she should be an actress. Because, honey, the way she put on for the folks today, she was there with all the theatrics. Like, she got so emotional at one point, like, that Chelsea and Madison were concerned. Chelsea was like, I'm going to drive her to my dad in her car. And Madison was like, I'll follow behind you. And then they go take her to Bill. And then she puts on again for Bill. And it's crazy. And the whole time they're talking, Chelsea's like, I understand, how it is after you've been attacked. I still have dreams about when I was kidnapped by Allison. And, this is news to Madison. And Madison is like, basically, like, why did I not know this? So when they take um, Haley to Bill and they're leaving, she asked Chelsea about the dreams and suggests that Chelsea potentially sees a therapist, so that she can get out ahead of this. And, Chelsea ain't really trying to hear that. She kind of brushed it off and said that she wanted to just go chill. And Madison was like, yeah, we're going to pick this back up again because you can't just keep going through it and expect to get on the other side. Sometimes you have to put some work into your healing. Like, you have to do things in order to reach the spot where you're healing. And I like that, Madison is not just ignoring what is going on with Chelsea. And as a person that does therapy, I did my session today, and my therapist was actually commending me on actually doing the work. Yeah, you have to do the work, and it does help you on the other side of things. And so I do recommend that, but I'm not trying to get on that soapbox. But yes, I am pro therapy. Anyway, we also have Tomas talking to Bill, and Bill basically told him, like, I know Kat don't really want to call me her uncle no more, but I'm always gonna look out for her and Martin because they are my niece and nephew. And yeah, you are on 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365-day test to make sure that you the right, person for my niece. And you bet not be being with her so that you can get forward in your career. And I'm like, at least somebody got Kat in mind, because I can't tell that Kat is Ted and Nicole's miracle baby, because the way they treat Kat, Danny and even Bill treat Kat, and Kat don't even ever have anything nice to say to Bill when she sees Bill because of what he did to her aunt. But Danny and Bill have her back more than her parents do. And that's a shame. That's one of the huge writing flaws for Beyond the Gates that irritates me. Like, can Kat have anyone that's in her corner? Like, her parents, that is. Like, they said Kat is my miracle baby, but y'all, that's how you treat your miracle baby. Dang. Just saying. Then we have Leslie and Eva. They're at Orphe Jeans, and she's still trying to get, she's trying to get in front of the press. And um she's like, oh, I know where to go. And meanwhile, Eva ends up having a meeting with Derek because her and Derek are working on making sure that the clinic gets open. She can't dedicate the time and the energy to get the clinic open because she still works for Ted and she's not leaving Ted to go to the clinic. So she's helping and basically supervising Derek. And so, they're making headways. And the thing about Eva is, yeah, I'm not even going to go into that conversation. But she's, trying to think out of the box ways to get the word out because she says that the people that she knows, they don't watch TV and they don't read newspapers, so and they may have limited resources to be able to have access to internet to get the word out. So they have to think of other creative ways in order to get the word out about the clinic. Meanwhile, at Joey's casino, you know, Leslie is trying to provoke Vanessa, and she ain't the one. At one point in the conversation, Joey had to kind of like hold Vanessa back because Leslie knows how to push buttons and she doesn't hesitate to push them. And she was trying very hard to push Vanessa's buttons. And Joey had to intervene because his girl was about to go oops upside Leslie's head. And so they're going back and forth. And at one point, Joey is basically like, y'all got to figure this out. Because he's just signing the checkbook. He's basically leaving it in the hands of Vanessa and Leslie. And he's like, y'all got to figure it out. So then she was like, oh, because Vanessa said that she wanted Derek to give the press conference. And she's like, absolutely not. And he probably don't want to do it anyway. So she calls him and he has her saved in his phone as do not answer. And I think that is hilarious. So he gives the phone to Eva and it's like, is your mom? And she answers the phone and she was like, where are you? And she's like, I'm at my office, aka Orphe Jeans. And they come, Vanessa and Leslie come, basically to ask him if he will be willing to do the press conference as the general manager. And he's like, I don't have experience doing that. And Vanessa's like, it won't be that much. It'll be basically you telling them, when it's open and whatever. And then Eva, tells them about the information that, well, what they've come up with, getting the food trucks to donate food and free meals, at the event and all of that. And Leslie is not really feeling it. And then it just took a turn for the worse. Like, I don't know what it was, but next thing we know, Vanessa and Leslie, they're going back and forth like ping pong. And I love me some Vanessa because she was eating the girl up. I don't know, because it was certain things that Vanessa said to Leslie that got under Leslie's skin. And I was like, anybody that can get under Leslie's skin is an all right person with me. And we saw Danny and Shanice do that. And I think Nicole has done it once before too. And now we seeing Vanessa do it. I'm like I said, she may not be a good wife, but she is a good friend and she is a worthy adversary for anybody want to come at her. Barbie said, shoot, try me. So yeah, it was today's episode was pretty fun because I don't ever enjoy any episodes between Leslie and anybody. I hate Leslie. The character irritates me. But I did enjoy Vanessa putting her in her place. But yeah, tomorrow's Friday and I'll be back to close out the week. Bye. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, March 6th, 2026. So in this episode, we start with Samantha. She's at home alone. Tyrell is at a chess tournament, I believe, and Smitty is out being a detective and an investigative reporter, I guess. And anyway, Martin comes home. He was out on the campaign trail. He comes home early, and Samantha's welcome is a little bit lackluster. And he's like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm just surprised to see you here." She's working, doing homework or whatever, being a good kid. And she starts telling her dad about, the conversation with her and June at Wolfie Jeans when Donnell came through to let her know yet that he would be the escort for her for the cotillion, and she's so happy that he's being her escort. And it's going well. Like, they're just having a good conversation. And he's like, "Where's your dad?" She was like, "He's supposed to be getting food. He's taking a while." And then Martin was like, "I'll reach out to him, but I kind of want to surprise him." So Samantha texts him, but he doesn't like answer her text right away because, like I said, he's being a investigative reporter, and he doesn't have time to talk to his daughter. Um, no, I'm just kidding. But um, we see him. He's at Orphe Jean's, and he's coming to pick up the food. But when he gets there, the food isn't ready. June tells him that the food isn't ready and that Naomi could use company. So he goes over and he's talking to Naomi. He doesn't ask Naomi about Jacob because he's not supposed to technically know that Jacob is on assignment undercover. So he, like, "Oh, you're thinking about Anita," and they're talking, and he takes Naomi's mind off of things for a little bit. And um which is good. And then he gets a phone call, and the phone call is actually from Jacob. So he kind of has to like talk in code, and then Jacob picks up on it. He's like, "You can't talk right now." And he's like, "Yeah." He was like, "I need to meet you." He was like, "I can make an appointment or whatever." And he goes to go see Jacob. And he goes to see Jacob, and Jacob tells him that the um, ring that they're investigating is also running through the hospital because that's where his drop is. And so he's like, "Be careful, blah, blah, blah." And then, "Have you, heard from Naomi?" And he tells him that he was with Naomi, when he called, and that she's struggling. She looks like she hasn't had a good night's sleep, blah, blah, blah. And then he asks him to do a favor, which comes out he sends Naomi flowers to let her know that he's thinking about her. But then we see Jace, Jacob does go down to the hospital, and he makes the drop, and he sees that the person who did the drop was Grayson. Now, my thing with Jacob is, did y'all see the look on his face? Like, he can't even, when Malone named him the Boy Scout, he was onto something because he can't even like hide his face. Like, okay, okay, you're shocked, but can you get the shock off of your face? Because first of all, you shouldn't want Grayson to see your face, right? Because you actually know him, you met him, so you don't want him because he knows you're police. Like, you don't want that to be known. And you sit up there with this shell shocked look on your face, like, boy, I, something wrong with Jacob. And that's why his dad is concerned, because his son is an idiot. And I understand why Chief Harthorn, ugh, I can't speak today. Why Chief Harthorn is concerned, because his son is an idiot. Then we have Ashley and Derek, and Ashley and Derek are talking, and he's saying that he's there to speak with Chief Leah so that he can ask her about doing a collaboration with the clinic and the hospital. And so Ashley offers to ping the chief for him so that he can talk to her. And when the chief comes, she's like immediately trying to shut him down, like, go to, community affairs. Like, she don't want to have anything to do with this. But then I'm even more suspicious of the chief after today's episode because she listens to what Derek has to say and she agrees to set up a link, and I feel like that link is bad. Beware of phishing scams. No, but I don't know. She agrees to set up a link through the hospital website to drive traffic to the clinic, and then she'll let him know. She's going to talk to the board and then let him know how they can further, intensify um this partnership. But I feel like she's going to use the clinic to run more of her plasma ring because I feel like she's definitely in on it. Now that we know for sure that Grayson is a part of it, and based on the conversation that Leah had with Grayson the other day, I'm pretty sure that the chief is dirty. And I'm pretty sure that she's about to use the clinic for her dirty activities. And it's getting good. That storyline took a little bit to juice up for me, but it's very interesting. But I don't know how long our boy gonna stay, you know, he's undercover. He's married to a Dupree. People know who Jacob is. Leah knows who Jacob is. So like he's in so much danger. I don't know. Like I know I said something might happen to Smitty and to um Jacob, but I'm really scared for them because like they're both stupid. Because also, why they keep meeting out in the hood? Like I think when Ren was talking to Jacob, he pretty much alluded to, or even flat out said that they got eyes on him, and then he goes and he talks to Smitty outside when after they tell him that they have eyes on him. There's gonna be some sad singing and slow walking. That's all I'm saying because they're stupid. Then we have the Grands. They're at home, and Gran is recovering from chemo, and the new chemo is doing a number on her body. And, she just wants to rest. She doesn't have any energy to entertain or to, pretend that she feels better than she does. She just doesn't have the energy. But Vernon, the attentive, the attentive husband that he is, he anticipates her needs before she can even know what she needs or even verbalize them. He has Tracy come into town and she's able to talk with Sharon and Tracy in a way that she's not able to do with Vernon and the rest of her family because she has to be strong for them because they can't handle that well seeing someone that they know is so strong be, broken down. But this is the sicker you get in your body, the more hard it is to keep up the faith and the hope. And I'm not saying that she's giving up because she's doing everything she can to fight the cancer. But when you're sick in your body, it's so hard to keep up that front and to keep, you know, speaking the positive things because I'm hurting right now. I don't feel well. So she's able to get that out with Tracy and with Sharon. So when they come, it's a moment of release for her, which actually ends up making her feel better. And I just enjoyed it. But I'll see you guys next week for more Beyond the Gates. Have a safe weekend.